One of the men who I've worked with for about a year now, he came up to me and he said something along the lines of like, Luke, I love your loving, penetrating presence. And he asked me, how did you get there? When he asked me that, I was like, I've never considered that. I don't know. Like, no one's ever said that to me. A clear reflection of doing work like the King's Code is one thing that I take that as, because a big part of it is being willing to quote unquote penetrate the world and be myself and not really give too many fucks about who that upsets. Like, as long as I know that I'm doing what is right in my heart, not really worrying about much else, like trusting my inner compass.
Masculinity is not toxic. Masculinity is medicine. Welcome to the Remasculation Podcast. This show is dedicated to the exploration, celebration, and pursuit of healthy masculinity in the modern world, with a view towards helping end the battle of the sexes and bringing men and women back together by turning the battlefield of the culture wars into a garden once again. I'm your host, Michael Bates, and my mission is to ignite and accelerate the evolution of men everywhere across this planet in our lifetime in service of something greater, our shared humanity. Welcome. Welcome to the show. I am so excited today to have two epic humans, two epic men joining me, both graduates of the King's Code program that I run here in Austin with my collaborators, Mark and Rob. And I am just so honored to be in both of your presence. We have the youngest man from our cohort and the eldest man from our cohort. And it's a special thing that you guys are going to get to experience with these two men today. But before I introduce you properly to Luke and Daimon, a lot of women say they want a conscious man and then don't treat men consciously. What do you say to women out there that are looking for conscious men? How as men do we know that we're conscious, and how do we become more conscious as men? Let's start with you, Luke.
That is a really loaded question.
Yeah, spring loaded, baby.
How do we know as men if we're conscious? I think the biggest thing is a connection to my growth and a willingness to look at what is working and what's not working in my life, to be conscious of everything that makes me human, my emotions, my physical state, whatever it means to be a human, to be conscious and aware of all of that, and really be honest with myself. Like, what is this the life that I want? Do I feel good on a consistent basis, or do I feel bad on a consistent basis? And just to be aware of that and to be willing to take action towards it.
Yeah.
To be aware and then take action. That's to me what it means to be a conscious man.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Daimon, how about you?
For me, to be a conscious man, conscious being, is to know my purpose and be moving toward it, and always going deeper into undoing my own patterns, whatever's in the way of that.
Yeah.
So that I become increasingly present and aware and capable. And in terms of being with women, it's as I keep learning,
Mm-hmm.
It's about being mindful of the energy, of the quality of connection, and not assuming I know anything, assuming I know nothing.
Yeah.
Which allows me to be present and not to assume, because when I start assuming, it goes off the rails.
Yeah. Thank you. Two beautiful answers. I would love to have the two of you introduce yourselves by sharing something you just pointed to. You mentioned knowing your purpose is an aspect of what it means to become or be working towards being conscious as men. And again, yes, the conscious man is a loaded term. I threw it in for a reason. It's this thing that everyone says in the community, and all the women I speak to every day, where are all the conscious men? Where are all the conscious men? Well, where are all the conscious women? And so it goes both ways, right? And we're not here to blame women and exonerate men, nor are we here to blame men and exonerate women. We're here to be humans together. So as your introduction, Daimon, because the Daimon, as we like to refer to you, because of the potency and the power, the eldership, and the youthful vitality that you somehow managed to carry as a man, it feels important to me that people know you and know what it is that you're about with this quiet, reserved capacity that you bring. And so I'd love it if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself first and foremost by telling us as best you can what your purpose is in the world.
I feel very fortunate that I was given a purpose. I remember the exact moment I was walking across the college campus and something spoke to me and said, it's to help humanity through this awkward phase. And as a depressed, confused, later semi-suicidal teenager, it was like absurd,
Yeah.
right? But the way my life has gone has brought me to the point where I have developed tools and methods that are radically effective in helping people through things, programming. And so that is my purpose, and developing that and sharing it with the world is my current focus.
I can attest to the utility of those tools as well. And when we finish today, I want to make sure that we share links to that so that people can really find what it is that you're doing. And just to give them a teaser of what it is exactly, would you just, share briefly what your work entails, what people can expect, what they get from the experience?
Yes, boiling it down into a soundbite has been very challenging.
I know. Yeah. Because it's not just a soundbite, is it?
It's not. It's not a tip. It's not hints. It's not a hack. It's a whole do. We've really been focusing on the word radical mainly. I teach a process called radical meditation.
Yeah.
That's one. And the reason it's radical is that it goes to the roots of our behavior, of how we feel, how we think, what our assumptions are. And those roots are neural networks. Fundamentally, in a human being, it doesn't get any deeper than that unless you go energetic and so on.
Yeah.
But on a physical level, it's neural networks. All your fears, everything you know, everything you've ever learned, all your ideas about yourself, your relationship patterns, your assumptions, your triggers, fundamentally, they are all neural networks. And that's useful because neuroscientists have discovered the 5 steps that the brain uses to rewire its own neural networks.
Neuroplasticity.
Well, neuroplasticity, but there's 5 specific steps. You identify the neural network, you activate it, you interrupt what the brain is expecting, that opens it up to new learning. You put in the new learning, and that's where I've developed lots of methods. And then you reconsolidate, which is like saving and closing the file. And it sounds too simple, but it's incredibly profound. It makes changes that people have tried for years to do, and sometimes in a very short time.
What a beautiful soundbite that was, actually. And again, something that I think is worth saying, as I've experienced you, the mastery that you bring, I think is well communicated in the simplicity with which you just explained something that's obviously very complicated, yet surprisingly simple.
It is surprisingly simple, and then it gets subtle.
Yeah.
Just like most things.
Yeah, and I've experienced it briefly, at least in the initial stages.
One method.
Yeah. So we'll speak more to that. Luke, how about you, my friend? Would you mind introducing yourself to us and to the listeners out there in the spirit of your purpose in the world and what you're here to do and bring?
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. I'm Luke Everidge, and I'm here to take the world's most influential people into the wilderness. My work right now, what I'm doing is I'm taking men and taking leaders into nature, immersing them in wilderness situations such that all of what sometimes I like to call bullshit can just fall away, and people can see their true nature. They can see the wilderness that's within them, which is who they are without all of the conditioning and the pressure and society and all that stuff that can get in the way of like who I really am. And that was a big struggle for me for most of my life. It was like, thinking all of that stuff. And then when it goes away, it's really an awakening, profound awakening. Yeah. So that's who I am, and that's what I do. And I'm so grateful to finally be living with a meaningful mission and purpose.
Yeah, I think it's easy as men in the modern world who have not gone through masculine rites, who have not been taught anything because our fathers weren't taught anything because their fathers didn't teach them anything, of the incredible, unspeakable value of being connected to why we are actually here on the planet and what it means as men to be connected to our purpose. And that the delta between living a life not on purpose, the suicidal orientation that is very normal and natural, I might add, the depression, the anxiety that is the result of not knowing why the fuck we're here, or doing things that we despise, having a job that we hate, being in a relationship that is challenging and difficult, all these things, depression, anxiety, suicidation are natural responses. They're not the problem. They're actually trying to wake us up to the possibility of doing something else. And so that's why in the King's Code and in the traditional masculine rites of passage across this planet, that necessity of getting clear on why we're here as men. And it's different between men, right? So what is Luke's reason? What is Damon's reason? What is Michael's reason for being here? And I love the way you describe that. Like the difference between the before and after is kind of unspeakable, because it's just a different way of being. And it's truly a revelation. And my prayer for any man listening is that I don't need you to go through our work. I don't need you to do the King's Code, but there is work to be done. And there's work to be done. And Luke, you went to the mountain with us. And there's an additional thing that we do in our work where we do go to wilderness and we go off grid, and we don't talk about what we do out there because we don't talk about what we do out there. But there is something about that confrontation that happens in nature, that necessary courting of death, as Rob likes to say, or the facing of one's infinite, inevitable demise, that is necessary because only death is promised. So since only death is promised, Damon, what now?
Oh, that's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do I do now?
Yeah.
That was actually the self-assigned koan. I didn't know what a koan was at the time. How do you decide what to do next?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be walking across the campus. I would just stop because I realized I didn't have a good reason. I'd just stand there until something moved me. I had to pee or something. And life was completely meaningless. I missed the social programming that a lot of people seem to get. I looked around at everybody and they were just following some pattern, which is meaningless to me. So I had to go deeper, and I spent decades in meditation and all kinds of things.
Yeah, I would say that's evidence that you actually got the proper programming, that you were actually, as a young person, able to stop and look and pay attention to things and notice the things, and weren't just swept up in the cultural, this is what I should be doing, this is what everyone else is doing, let me lemming-like, right, cattle-like follow along with what everyone's doing, because humans are herd animals, right?
Right. That's what I did in college.
Mm-hmm.
Is what?
Is to just follow the herd, try to fit in, figure out what the programming is so that I can fit in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just couldn't. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
And so that put me off on a different trajectory, which the benefit is I discovered things that, were not visible from inside the herd.
Yes. And so let me be the first to thank you for your struggle and the suffering that I think so many outliers go through. I would say that in the context of the king, warrior, magician, lover frame that we use, that shamanic element that you were obviously connected to, being different, being the outcast, and so many people go through that process without support, without recognizing that something special is happening to you. That because you're that different, you get to be the outlier that then brings something into the world that was completely unknown, unexpected, and now a true gift. And, I know a lot of your story and how much you've gone through, and how, at the age that you are, in a way, you're coming into your own. And what a gift that is for so many of us. Why I'm so excited for the three of us to be talking today. I'm 45 years old, and I'm sort of square in between the two of you as far as your age. And as men, that there's no wrong way to do this outside of just not doing it. And by that, I mean, facing the darkness, going into the desert, going into the aloneness that is necessary to break ourselves free from the miasma and the matrix that has us all, that is, pushing us into jobs we hate, relationships that aren't fulfilling, and all these different pieces. But, your willingness to break through into something now is deeply serving. And so for everyone listening, right, there's no wrong way to do this aside from not doing it. Yeah. What would you have to say about that, Luke? Anything?
I mean, what got me into personal development and men's work was not the King's Code. It was, you've been at it for a while. It's our favorite book, No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover.
God bless that man.
But I bring that up to say it's like doing it wrong, if there is such a thing, is not doing the work. It's ignoring what's not working for me.
Yes.
And pretending like nothing is wrong.
Yes.
That's what's doing it wrong. And I'm a huge advocate of whatever the work is for someone or a man, go follow that, go do that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, you're speaking to a huge shadow, I think, in our culture as men, right? We need to have it. We need to have it all together. We need to be the thing, right? I am Michael Bates, men's coach, David Data trained, and all these different things. And I also was trapped in that for a long time, and I didn't realize it. My own perfectionism No More Mr. Nice Guy and my examinations of my own codependence and all these different things enabled me to see is that there's something that has me, that is keeping me from being able to show up in my fullness. And every single one of us has our own version of that. None of us are free from that. And so how do we as men be the outlier of someone that opens up first or shares or goes and does the work, right? Because, well, I've heard so many men say, I don't need therapy. I don't want to do therapy. Because if I do that, then it's almost like an admission that I am broken, or I am not awake, or my family will see that as like, oh, I'm not trustable, or I'm not a man. What would you say to that, Damon?
I'd say that's a complete misunderstanding of what it means to be a man.
What does it mean to be a man, Damon?
I think what it means to be a man is to be an adventurer, to explore the edge. I heard someone on a radio show say once that his mother's best advice to him was, if you're not standing on the edge, you're taking up too much room.
Wow. And from his mother, no less.
Yeah.
It's a good mother.
Yeah. So none of us are complete beings. We all are born with programming from epigenetics and given programming from previous generations and culture and family. And with civilization, that worked pretty well as hunter-gatherers. But with civilization, we've accumulated trauma coming down through 10,000 years with mass warfare and starvation and slavery and domination and all the crap.
Yeah.
Right. And crap is a technical term. It's constructed realities according to people.
Will you say that again?
Crap is a technical term. It's constructed realities according to people.
Fucking brilliant.
Including you. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
We all construct our realities, right, out of whatever we're handed.
I am full of crap, aren't I? Yeah.
We all are.
Yeah.
We all are. And then, okay, but there are levels of crap, right?
Yeah.
Like some of it's really deep crap that really shapes your life, like a belief that you're unworthy.
Yeah.
Or that you're shameful, or there's something wrong with you.
I had that friend.
All the various relationship patterns that we get from our families and from the culture and so on. It's all constructed realities, right? And so undoing those and getting down to what I call basic wholeness, I have this belief that humans are fundamentally whole and complete.
Yeah.
Under all the crap, which I also call the rubble of civilization. So it's like clearing off the rubble of civilization, a big chunk off, and and then after a while there's like more light and air, and then eventually you can stand up and walk free. So that's the goal. So I think the biggest mistake about being a man or being a human is to think you have to conform to a certain mold, a certain image, and that's your purpose. Your purpose is beyond that. Your purpose is to become a whole being. That's what I would say, whatever that takes.
Yeah. It's beautifully said. What would you say, Luke?
Or to maybe not to become a whole being, but to recognize that I already am. To remember that I am a whole being.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Connect to the whole being that's already there inside you, and take away everything that's in the way of that so that you can show up authentically.
Yeah. I was in a conversation this morning around that, as far as like, yes, there is a part of us that is whole and perfect and divine, and everything is there, and there's nothing else that needs to be done, period. And that's half true, right?
It's half true.
And so how do we as humans, yes, but as men, how do we handle the fact that part of us is infallible, imperfect, will always be growing, will always need to grow. There's a part of us right now that could be better than we're showing up in this moment. And there's a part of us that's perfect and divine as it is. How do we reckon that? How do we be with that reality that I think levels so many of us,
Well, you can take the perfection part, the basic wholeness, as inspiration and as a source of confidence.
Yeah.
That as I let go of all these various identities that I may have, there's still something there. I'm not going to die. Right? There's a sense that if you let go of some of your identifications, that you're going to die.
Yeah.
And that keeps people stuck.
Yeah.
I think we actually have a program, we call it the status quo maintenance program, that's hardwired for every person that wants to actually prevent you from changing.
Yeah.
And it had an evolutionary purpose, but now it's one of our biggest obstacles.
I would agree.
So how you handle that dichotomy? For me, I recognize I have bad programming. I had a lot of bad programming. And I also knew that I had that sense of basic wholeness, even when I was young.
Yeah.
And so I knew it wasn't me. It was bad programming.
Yeah.
And that's been a big blessing. So I could just work on, okay, how do I undo that? How do I undo that? And what do I find underneath it?
Yep.
And that's my path.
That's it, man. Well, that's the path, I would say, for men. That's your version of it, and the path you went on. You've shared a bit about yours, and the King's Code is also a path. It's not the only path. And so again, for anyone listening, you can join us in the King's Code. You can get curious about it, and there are so many different paths out there, and this might not be the one for you, but you need to find a path. And what I would say as men in the modern world, not having had paths, not having had mentorship from men, having men who have themselves been initiated or are suitable role models. And by suitable, I mean actually worthy of emulating in the world. How many men do we have? Even in like the annals of famous people, who can we think of living that we would actually want to emulate, that we would actually, that actually have it all together, that have maybe a purpose that they're on fire for, and a relationship that is healthy, and they're living their life in legacy and service. Where are those examples to call in? And this brings us to the sort of the second piece, right? We've talked about purpose as this, real flag in the ground. Brotherhood as a secondary piece of what's so necessary for us, because we can go astray. This idea of the rugged individual, that I am the siloed person who needs to run my family and protect from myself, and it's me against you. And if it's like stock, if I make money, you lose money, and this whole thing of competition and comparison that we struggle with as men. One piece that the King's Code is about is brotherhood. And not just a brotherhood that's like, okay, you get brotherhood while you're in the program, but why you men as graduates of Battalion 1 can join Battalion 2 and stay in it and stay sharp and stay in it and continue to be in that work, having each other's back, being accountable to each other. I can't see my bullshit as well as you might be able to, or you might be able to. How that allows us to stay sharp. How have you guys experienced that? And what did you get from the King's Code, and how valuable is brotherhood to you?
Yeah, for me, that's probably the biggest, the most valuable piece of the King's Code for me is my belonging in a brotherhood full of men who all care about their own personal development, who are willing to hold themselves and me and us accountable to a higher standard than the majority of the rest of the society that I've experienced. It's been so critical, because there's this there's something in society that pressures men, that has pressured me to think that I have to do it all myself. Like hyper individualism is really, it can take you to a certain point. I'm not going to say that you can't get anywhere being super individualistic, and there's a ceiling, there's a limit to it. And when I have had the support of brothers who have my best interest in mind and will call me out on my bullshit and celebrate me when I'm doing awesome things in the world, that is when I've seen my growth skyrocket. And yeah, absent that, I don't know where I would be, to be honest.
I think there's an unspeakable value to brotherhood that most of us just don't understand, because we never had it. And so we don't know what's missing. We don't know the value of a cohort of men that aren't just your boy because you've grew up together, but you've gone through shit together. You've exposed yourself, and that's going to sound funny. You've exposed your emotional insides, right, to each other. Oh yeah. We don't talk about what happens, No. It's I'm so passionate about this because, again, it's what is the value of having men that you truly trust to go into business with, to leave your kids with for the weekend, to, God forbid, have to defend yourselves bodily or someone you love bodily from potential harm. And knowing that, we do on our thread, right? People reach out all the time, hey, I'm going through something. Can anyone hop on a call? Boom. It's there. What is the dollar value of that?
What's the dollar?
Yeah. Put a price tag on that.
I don't even know how to quantify that.
Well, right. Then that's what I mean, right? That's what makes something priceless. Damon, what would you say about this whole piece?
The dollar value, I say the dollar value is irrelevant.
Yeah. And what would you say about brotherhood and the value of that?
Brotherhood. What drew me into King's Code was that I started to become interested in the masculine archetype, which is something I had not paid attention to. I didn't have any men that I respected in my life. Yeah. Right. So I was thrown off on my own. But I became aware that, okay, there is this thing called the masculine archetype, and there's something there for me. And I just started pursuing that, and then things synchronistically opened up, and the King's Code was offered, and that's one of the reasons I joined. and that's paid off. I've gotten connected to that. We talk about archetypes in there, and connecting with men is something I had never really done.
Yeah.
Right. And so I got to know, our group of men, and they know me, and it was an expansion for me of just awareness of what relationship can be, especially with men, and the possibilities, and experiencing what it's like to be in that company, in that energy. And I think that's been a crucial step in my personal growth.
Yeah. And also just to, again, celebrate your work and to be about getting your work out in the world. Like
My work, I was always focused individually, and
Yeah.
I do work with groups. Right?
Yeah.
I work with any number of people,
For sure.
but it's primarily about going deep inside
Mm-hmm.
and changing something deep inside that then shows up outside.
Oh, yeah.
But work in community as the group, the social interaction,
Yeah.
the man-to-man, face-to-face,
Yeah.
was different for me. And it was an element that I had been missing.
Absolutely.
And I want to speak to something in that too, of what it's like to do work with others in community, with other brothers.
Yeah.
It like with little to no effort, it forces me to realize that I am not alone. What I'm going through is not that unique. Like, we have similar common struggles as men in the society, and getting to see, oh wow, like you struggle with that too, and then I share something, and like they resonate with what I'm sharing. The sense of wholeness that just comes from that, for me, has been really profound and impactful, and that's something that you literally can't get alone. You literally cannot get that without doing the work in community.
Yeah, there's something you just can't get by yourself. Like, it's just math, right? It's like, yes, you can be the most badass Navy SEAL on the planet, but it's not the Navy SEALs. It's the Navy SEALs. Like, you need someone watching your back. Yeah, you can be a badass. You can read all the books. You can have all the things, but you just can't see you in the way that other people can. And again, to the degree that we can empower those around us by sharing with our brothers, hey man, this is my fucking weakness. Hey, this is this thing I have with women. Can you guys track me? Like, when we're out at a party, like, can you help me? I'm trying to work through this God bless codependence crap. Can you guys have my back? Right? And then having men actually do that. And Damon, I brought up your business just to say, like, what a thrill it is to be able to know what you do, have experienced it, know it's the shit, and then be able to, like, I want you to grow in your business and your work to be out in the world. That's not a threat to the King's Code. That's not a threat to me. That's part of how we all rise together. And so for you men listening, like, imagine having that. Imagine having a group of men where, yeah, if there's a challenge or a difficulty, you can actually bring it up and it's going to serve the group. There's going to be, I guarantee you, if you're man enough, brave enough, bold enough to bring your issue to the group, it's going to not only serve you to open, but someone in that group is going to be served by it as well, right? I mean, that's the way this technology works. So, which brings us to the third piece. We've got purpose, we've got brotherhood, and the way I like to share this third piece is something greater, a connection to something greater than ourselves. That's the community, that's maybe higher power, that's a spirit greater than us, and being in service to something other than just us annihilates that sort of selfishness that I got to get mine, I got to get mine, I got to get mine. Yes, I got to have food on my table. But what does it mean to be in service to something greater than ourselves and to be orienting ourselves in the world in a different way? So what are you in service to, Luke?
What am I in service? I'm in service to the planet. I love being in nature and seeing the waterfalls and the vistas and the plants and the birds. So much that's a lot of what my work ties into, is just, caring for the planet and that.
What does it bring online in you when you connect to the planet and you're outside and you're in nature? What do you feel in your body, in yourself?
What a beautiful question. Joy, peace, lots of peace and calm. Like you mentioned, king, warrior, magician, lover. I'm the lover.
Yeah.
I connect to, like, deep love and passion. Yeah, like so many just rich qualities of life. That's what I get to connect to when I'm in nature myself, and also in service to preserving it.
Yeah, thank you. This final piece is also, I'm not avoiding it, God. higher power, connection to something. You don't have to frame it that way. It can be science. You can be agnostic. You can be an atheist. But being connected to something greater than yourself and having something, whether it could be nature, right? It can be a mountain range, something that fills your spirit with something, power, beauty, a sense of things. It sounds like it gives you something.
Yeah, my relationship to the universe, spirit, God has been pretty all over the place.
Yeah.
In the arc of my life, I was raised in an atheist household that was created by a Catholic household and a Lutheran household. My grandmother desperately wanted me to be a good Catholic boy. She took it and got me baptized and all that stuff. And so I thought there was a God when I was a kid. But then I got into high school and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is all bullshit. This is just like Santa Claus, and was atheist for a while. And then I started doing my own inner work and personal development with Noah or Mr. Nice Guy. Then I read The Alchemist, which The Alchemist is what started to point to there's something else. There's something else operating here.
What a phenomenal book.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paulo Coelho.
Yeah, there's something else, and that's what started to get me connected to noticing synchronicities and noticing omens. The omens, it's things that there's too many coincidences sometimes to that it would be random.
Yeah.
And so now I'm still growing my relationship to faith, but what I find is it's a lot easier for me to go into the scary places in life. One of which for me is just not knowing how following my mission and my purpose is going to turn out. What I'm doing is not the norm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who knows where it's going to lead me, but I've noticed having faith that following it anyway.
Yeah.
And that I'm doing a good thing and just trusting that I'm doing a good thing and that I will be taken care of. And I notice that puts me at ease. It calms me, gives me a little more peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And without that, I'd probably go back to my sales career, making good money and not giving a shit about the work that I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a heck of a thing, man, to walk away from money in the bank and what would you say? The convenience, the security that in reality is a trap, isn't it?
Can be.
Yeah. Yeah. Damon, what about you? What do you hear in service to, and what do you connect to beyond yourself?
Until now, I've never tried to put a name to it. But just thinking about how to answer that question, I'd say it's reality. I'm in service to reality.
Wow.
And I don't need faith because reality is reality, right? I mean, who could question that reality exists? I mean, people can. I don't. I've always felt that there was something larger going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been given verbal instructions at times that come from somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
I have no doubt that there's intelligence, there's wisdom, there's presence around us.
Yeah.
And our job, it's my job, the way I see our job as humans, is to undo what lies between our experience and that, so that we can reflect that, embody it, express it, be it, which we truly are, except we've got all this other stuff going on.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. Yeah.
So I never felt like I had a choice, actually.
The choiceless choice, as some call it. Yeah. I'm curious for you guys, what have you noticed both with yourselves and in reflections from others since you guys came out of the King's Code on the backside of it? What have you noticed is different about yourselves? What up-leveled, what got left behind, what's integrated, what's different about you? And any evidence or reflections from others, be them men or women, that you've gotten that let you know that you actually are different and are showing up in a different way.
I was just at a retreat. One of the things that I do is I staff and manage teams at retreats. And one of the men who I've worked with for about a year now, he came up to me and he said something along the lines of Luke, I love your loving, penetrating presence. And he asked me, how did you get there? When he asked me that, I was like, I've never considered that. I don't know. No one's ever said that to me. A clear reflection of doing work like the King's Code is one thing that I take that as, because a big part of it is being willing to quote unquote penetrate the world and be myself and not really give too many fucks about who that upsets. Like, as long as I know that I'm doing what is right in my heart, not really worrying about much else, like trusting my inner compass. And so to get that reflection back, the like, wow, like, how do you do that, was a big sign that, like, okay, I'm doing something right here. And I trusted the power and the potency of that reflection. It was very easy to do that. Yeah. I think that answers your question.
It does. I've heard several people who were at that retreat, I won't name the retreat, but who were at that retreat, who told me that you were the best part of that retreat, that the way you showed up helped them not leave and helped them be able to go through what they were going through because of that penetrating, grounded presence that I've watched you cultivate, that you already had the threads of when I met you because you had done a lot of work, but getting to see it solidify in you and the impact that you're making on the community that I'm getting to hear from people that don't even know that I know you is, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing and what you're bringing. There's the way so much of this message is being construed as men need to get their shit together. Men need to do their work. They need to do their work. Fuck that. The world is burning. The world is on fucking fire right now. And only men can save it. That's the way I see it. Only that elevated part of men can save it, in the way that that part in an elevated man brings out the elevated aspect in our sisters and saves the whole thing. So that's a bold statement that I just made, but I can't not believe that to be the case. And that is the way I try to hold myself. But I know that to the degree I try to do it by myself, I will fail. And I've tried to be that perfect man. I've tried to be, as I think so many of us are in this culture, to be the savior, because it's written into our religious substructure, right? To the degree I've worked to save myself and try to give some of that to others and surround myself with good men that are themselves working on themselves as you just described. That feels important.
Yeah, isn't that a part of Christianity? Like savior is like from within myself. Isn't that something Jesus says in the Bible?
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation where Catholicism took Christianity, which I don't think is anywhere near where Christ himself, what he was speaking to. But that there is, this, we're going to go down a rabbit hole here. I want to be careful. No, I don't want to be careful.
No.
The second coming is the second coming in you. All that I can do, you can do and more, is what he supposedly said. Why would you say that if you have to be saved or you have to go through an intermediary like a priesthood to be able to do that?
Right, but and what I was pointing to is, like, the more that I do my work, the more that for lack of a better term saves humanity.
Yes.
Because when I do my work, that gives permission, and not just permission, but like inspiration for others to do the same thing. And so to your point of like, to save the world, we need good men. Like, we need men doing the work to light the beacon and to show other men, like, hey, like, you can do this too, and women too, to give everyone hope and inspiration that we're not fucked.
Yeah. And that's the word, inspiration. It feels like that word. And what I've heard people say about both of you, that you inspired them to be something greater, to inspire, to take the breath. The sound women make, right? When we're there with them in right relationship, the inspiring, that breath, the opening, the, oh my God, new possibility, new experience, new life, new felt sense of things. Damon, what have you got for us?
It's inspiration and skill. You can be inspired, but still stuck.
Yep.
And the tools that we have in society are not very effective. And I totally agree with you. The world is on fire, and we have not had the tools to pull ourselves out of that.
That's it.
We're adding to it unwittingly.
Yes.
All the time.
Yes.
So we need a new direction.
Yeah, we do.
And the only way out that I've seen is through.
Yeah.
So looking inside, what are my patterns? How am I contributing to creating harm? How am I disconnecting? How am I thwarting my own capabilities, my own potential? And undoing those things, because those are all, as I said, crap. They're constructed, right? So undoing those, I think, is essential. And, and taking down the baseline stress level that so many people have. I mean, everybody has a baseline stress level. And some people are running at 7, 8, 9, and those are the ones who crack when something happens, right? And then they get violent, either toward themselves or outwardly. That interferes with relationships, interferes with communication, interferes with business effectiveness, interferes with productivity, creativity, everything. And so finding actual skills to bring that down and start reclaiming the neural resources that have been devoted to the triggers and the reaction patterns and so on, I think is essential. So, the Buddha said skillful means.
Yes, he did.
And that's a lot of my background. And I believe in skillful means. And that's what I've devoted my life to, is developing and using them. And I have a long ways to go.
You and me both. Yeah. Yeah, I am still working on this. I do not have it all together. But yeah, what we're speaking to now, I hope that this can shine out as a beacon to anyone listening, that you are the one that we're waiting for. You are the one. You are Neo in the Matrix, and so are you, and so are you, and so am I. And this idea of the second coming, the Sangha, the community, the emergence of nodes within the web of community and humanity starting to wake up and inspiring each other, and the skillful means being disseminated through different things like this work, your work, putting these things out there and letting them be tested, be shit tested for what does work, what is skillful means, what does it mean as a man. We were talking about this morning with Tanai and Quinn about what it means as a man to provide, and this idea of providership, but that we're so fixated on things. What can I provide? The money. How can I provide safety in these things? The ultimate providership for a man is to be able to provide this. I'm here. I'm with you. Presence as the ultimate present, the thing we pay attention. We pay attention. As men who are listening, you want to develop your capacity to provide, develop your capacity to pay attention, and your value will incrementally increase based on how you get to provide for the clerk at Whole Foods with the gift of you and her checkout line. The bike messenger that brings your food, how you meet them at the door, the way our presence penetrates everything. And women feel that. Like, I talk to women, they're like, oh, I feel him inside me when I see a man of that quality at the store. That's a whole other conversation. But so in the spirit of that, in the spirit of that, what do you men have to say about that as two men that I know hold this capacity and I've seen bring that quality of providership? And again, for the men listening, it's like, you want to make $1 million? Cultivate this quality of being able to provide this first and just watch what happens in your life. Because this is the thing everyone wants. This is what our phones are trying to prize from us.
Who said that?
Go ahead.
The phone thing?
Yeah, go.
And because that is like the easiest way to understand, in my opinion, the pay attention. And what I understand your point to be there is like, my attention is perhaps the most valuable thing that I have, like intrinsically.
Yes.
Yeah. And I get to decide where I pay that out to.
Yes.
Where I give that attention, where I provide my attention. And something that I've struggled with, and I know millions of people struggle with, is paying attention to things that just consume it and drain our energy and our attention, and they eat, like social media, our phones.
Yeah.
And to your point, when we become more conscious and deliberate about where I'm paying my attention out to, that's how I make $1 million. If instead I take the 5 to 10 hours a week that I spend on social media and invest that attention into something that I care about, maybe it's a business, maybe it's a woman, whatever, that's providership. And that's what I understand, what we're talking about here, how I understand it.
It's net positive versus net negative too, because your time spent on social media isn't just taking your time in that moment. It's taking your capacity to pay attention to anything else in the future, because these systems, these apps, the social media is designed to extract from us so that they can sell our attention to their advertisers, period. Social media could be designed very differently. It doesn't have to be extractive. It could actually be social media. But what it really is corporate media. It is sales media. That's what it is. Our attention is being prized from us, and they've used every technique they have. These companies, the vested
It's
interest.
being mined. It's being strip mined.
Truly, our data is being strip mined. Ourselves.
Our attention.
And it is producing in humans ADD and ADHD like symptoms in people that are not ADD and ADHD. Like it is rewiring our brains in the opposite of what your work is designed to do. It is making us dependent. It is not good at all. So again, the absolute necessity of our capacity as men, or the masculine's capacity to resist. And also for me, it's like recognizing when war is being made upon you. Because I don't know, I used to give myself a hard time when I was younger, but anytime, like, commercials have always pissed me off. Like, I get angry when I watch commercials because I used to think, oh, there's something wrong with me. I'm like, no. This is information being beamed into me that has been carefully designed by a team of people to see how they can break down my attention, convince me that I need the thing that they're selling so that I can buy it, because they're trying to take advantage of the fact that all of us aren't connected to each other. All of us are depressed and anxious. And if we're depressed and anxious, we are susceptible to things that are being sold as solutions to the problem of depression and anxiety, when connection, community, purpose, brotherhood, something greater, sisterhood, all these things, humanhood is the actual solution. So what do we do in the face of this?
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do we do in the face of this, gentlemen?
Create yourself, create something valuable, create something that contributes,
Yes.
create something that lifts people up,
Yes.
and then share it. And here it is. It takes attention to create something
It does.
because we have all our programming.
Yeah.
It's called programming for a reason,
Yes, it is.
right?
They also call us users for a reason, and they capture our attention for a reason. They're using those terms in our face. Fuck you. Yeah, we're going to capture your attention.
So you have to recapture your attention.
Yeah.
You have to reclaim where your attention is going and identify, okay, what is the most valuable thing I can do? And it's effort. It takes effort to keep your attention on that and create.
Yeah.
And move forward and do something new that has never been done.
Yeah. The thing I'd add to that is you asked, what do we do? How do we come together? Is what came to me. Like, we come together.
Yeah.
Because again, it can be very challenging to reclaim my attention alone without the support of others.
Oh, it's divide and conquer. It's the oldest military tactic in the book. You're alone in your room. You're rarely doing well, sometimes you're doing social media in a group of people, maybe if you feel like you're nervous and don't want to connect. But yeah, you were saying, sorry to interrupt you.
Exactly. Like I'll be honest, like there have been many times where I'm alone in my room for hours and I'm stuck. I can't do it.
Looping.
But I'm in a loop. And as opposed to asking, this is an accountability process I have in place right now, is hey, if I find myself like in a loop, can I reach out to you? Can I call you? And then at the end of the week, I check in, like, did I not use social media in a mindless way? Did I or did I not doom scroll? Like, I have people holding me accountable to what I say I want and frankly, what they want from me too, because they just want what's in my best interest. And so having those support systems, that type of support system you can't have alone, and yeah.
Another motivation is to do it for someone else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving beyond yourself.
That's it, man.
If you're doing it for someone else, then it's a higher calling.
Yeah, what's been coming up for me a lot in the last month or so is I've literally thought about that. Like I can't let my brothers down. I can't let the brothers who did my battalion of the King's Code. I can't let the brothers down who are joining the next battalion of the King's Code and who are going to be looking up to me. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah. Well, you guys all know how it is when we're in the lines and we're like in our fucking war face together in those battle lines.
I love that exercise.
And you're not gonna let that other man drop. There's just no way it's gonna fucking happen. And there's a part in us as men that just rises to that we need a mission, we need a good fight. It's something worth fighting for, something worth dying for. And a brother, all the men that come back from war, when they're asked, why do you fight? It's always the man next to me. And that's what's so important about this work. the men next to us. And that if I'm in an accountability group and I don't do what I said I was going to do, I've now put an ounce of doubt in that group. And me not doing it doesn't just impact me, it impacts the overall solidity of that group.
Yeah.
And that now it's impacting something greater than just me. Because again, when we're isolated, we're easy to divide. It's divide and conquer is the oldest military tactic that's ever been used. And that's why this work is designed to be the antidote to that. And again, you don't have to do this work, but do your work, brothers out there listening. Do your work. And sisters out there listening, don't nag your men into doing it. Let him know that your world is on fire and you need him. You need the hero in him, the true warrior in him to awaken, to rescue you. Not a princess from a tower, but like all of us from our delusion, this mass delusion that we're in. And we need you in the fight, brother. We need you in the fight too, sister. Like we're in this together. This is the sacred union. So, we talked about beginning with a prayer and beginning with a connection. And when things don't happen then that I really intend to happen and that always happen, when they don't happen, I get curious. I used to get self-judgmental and, oh no, I fucked it up. Now I just get curious. So I would love to invite you both to close this out for today, because we're already at, it's 2:15, which is why I love this. We can just talk forever. I'd love to hear just sort of a closing prayer from you men for everyone listening, for us, for humanity, for men and women. It can be your dissemination of wisdom, something that's coming through you that just feels inspired, or something that, you're about, your mission statement, whatever it is. But I'd love to hear from you men, and love for the listeners out there to hear from what you men are about and the prayer that you have for us and for this world.
I invoke the guidance in each of us. I invoke the genius that each of us embodies. I call on the wisdom that is in you to speak up, and for you to listen to it and follow it and set aside childish things. I call on you to stand up, to be the man, to be the woman that you could be, and to take steps on that path toward your full potential. How can you show up in the world in the way that the world needs? How can you show up in the world in the way that you need to be fulfilled, to be whole, to fulfill the purpose of your being here? Ask yourself that and follow the guidance you get.
Thank you, Daimon. The Daimon. Luke?
Wow.
Heck of a thing to follow.
Oh, thank you for that, David. Yeah. I'm going to repeat a prayer that I think both of you have heard from me, and then I'll expand on it. So that's, I pray for the strength and courage to make the sacrifices necessary to live our dreams. And I pray for the strength and courage for every, not just man, but every person on this planet to be authentically themselves, no matter what they may have to sacrifice to do that they have the strength and courage to let all of that go that's in their way of just being themselves.
Thank you, Luke. I wasn't planning on adding one, but I think I'm going to. My prayer is for you, brother. You listening to this right now in your car, in your home, wherever you find yourself. You, so that you remember that courage is simply taking action in the face of fear. You don't need to not be afraid. Be afraid and take one action, any action, because we need you. I need you. You, not anyone else. You are the one we've been waiting for. You, brother. It's not your fault. No one taught you anything. No one taught me anything either, but it is our responsibility collectively to stand up now, because the alternative, we all know it. Pushing paper for someone else's dream, an automaton in a wheel, and you are not an automaton. You are a unique child of the divine. It's time to act like it. It's time to rise. We need you. I need you. You're ready. Even if you're not, you're ready. If you're hearing this, if these words from my brothers here and my voice are reaching your ears, you're ready. That's the sign. That's the omen that Luke was talking about. Take it, follow it. Maybe it's meaningless. Maybe it's all meaningless. I think not. I think not. I think not. Gentlemen, it's been an honor. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your eldership, Daimon. I know a lot of people that get old, but not many of them become truly what you've become. You honor us with your presence, the work that you've done. Yeah, you deserve that acknowledgement. And you are a true gift. And Luke, the youngest, you precocious son of a gun, as I love to call you. Man, thank you for being evidence of this work and how fast this work can work. And may we all receive this work as we were once meant to as teenagers, to be surrounded by a group of teenagers who are men, who are themselves intact in themselves. So yeah, a real honor to be here with you guys. Luke Everidge, thank you for your time. Damon Sweeney, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michael, for your work.
You're very welcome. Thekingscode.org is the program we've all been through. You can find my information on my website, as you guys know. Damon, would you want to share your website and where people can find your work as well? And we'll add it in the show notes later as well.
Yeah, my approach is called Neuromastery, and my website is neuromastery.io.
Beautiful. Luke, anything you'd like to share? People can find your work, your nature
I'm
work.
going to share my stuff with you for the notes afterwards.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you to our listeners. Blessings to you all. This is Remasculation. Here we fucking go. Bless.